Hello everyone and welcome in the second webinar of Information Security, Continuity and Recovery topics on the second season that we have started. In today's enterprise environment, a disaster recovery plan isn't just something nice to have, it's more crucial than ever. A business continuity strategy must be formulated to ensure that when a disruptive event takes place, be it a service interruption, IT threat, or inclement weather or some other instance, the company can sustain its usual processes. Creating an effective disaster recovery plan isn't without its fair share of challenges. Unless every essential aspect is factored into the strategy, the enterprise will likely find it lacking when it comes time to activate the plan or strategy. Therefore, pinpointing and addressing these obstacles is the key to implementing an effective strategy. And actually, today we will be discussing about the key elements to implementing effective disaster recovery strategies with the PCB certified trainer Barbro Thöyrä, who is specialized in disaster recovery. My name is Tim Rama, the PCB organizer of this webinar, and I would kindly ask you to write all your questions and comments in the question box in the right-hand control panel, and we will answer to them accordingly. I hope you enjoy it, and please, Ms. Barbro, you may continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Hello, everyone. I am Barbro Thöyrä, and I work with Sevelot in Sweden, in Stockholm. And I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share with you some ideas about recovery strategies for disaster recovery. It's based on my own experience and, well, everything I read and learned during, since I started working with business continuity in 1995. The first certification I received from DRI, 1996. And I am a partner trainer to PCB. So I do the training, the planning, and the exercises, not to forget. During this 45 minutes, we can't go deeply into every subject, but I hope you will get some ideas, new or that you already know about disaster recovery strategies. As I said, this webinar is for 45 minutes, and you can write your questions, as Tim said, and we will answer them. What is the difference between business continuity and disaster recovery? You can say that business continuity is ensuring the business can continue during an emergency when something has happened. And disaster recovery is recover technology as quickly as possible. Of course, also when something crucial disaster happens. Well, I should go to it. The disaster recovery problem statement is that there is an event that interrupts one or more of our business processes or systems or applications, and these events can be internal or external. And the length of the interruption is very important. If it's very short interruption, you might not even notice it. If it is a long interruption, then it will become a disaster at the end. And disaster recovery assumptions is that it is a major catastrophe, not daily operational problems like you have forgotten your password or your printer is not starting or something like that. And this will not produce a business as usual environment. It will be something else. And the company will still lose time and money in a disaster. even if they have fully redundant strategy. And the challenge with disaster recovery is that you have to move with no warning to another location, maybe without notice, with less capacity and capability, and you can use just the data you stored off-site. And within a designated recovery time frame, we will come back to that a little later, and maybe without some key personnel. Disaster happens, you can do the emergency response, or maybe immediate recovery within hours. Other recovery of critical functions could take days, and to come back to and return home could take weeks. And the analysis of recovery strategies is to identify the strategies for mission-critical operations or systems. Not everything, because that will take months and months to do. So you take just the mission-critical systems. And using the outcome from BIA and risk evaluation. And then you recommend strategies that meets the recovery objectives identified in the BIA, and you have to do the cost-benefit, of course, of the strategies you will recommend to the management. Risk assessment, just to record it again, starts with you have a list of critical resources and you identify the risks for the critical resources. That will, the risk that can disrupt your systems or your operations. And then you do the risk analysis with what will the damage be? Will it be low, medium, or high? What is the probability? Low, medium, high. That is the simplest risk analysis. And then when you have done that, you do the risk judgment. Are there risks that are not acceptable, that you can't control? With those, you continue the analysis. So you will have the resources vulnerable to risk at the end. And one of the results, this is from a customer, is a risk category, asset in risk, vulnerability, probability, controls in place, and then categorize. And then you continue to analyze category 1, 2, and whatever that you decide. This is just one example of the result. And if you look at the business impact analysis, you establish the impacts of outage. For operational impacts, customer impacts, the financial, the legal, regulatory impacts, and other impacts as well. And from there you could see the recovery time objective. I will come back to that later. And also the recovery priorities, what comes first. And the requirements for recovery, what is needed of personal or all kinds of resources. And also the vital records. How about them? If you look at the financial impacts, it could be, this is also from real life, from a customer, where you put the financial impacts. From there you can see how much money you lose if the operations or system or application is disrupted by a disaster. And from there, the management often say that in this case, they are not willing to lose more than $5 million US. So they have to have that system up and running within 5 days. And that gives you the one piece of the recovery time objective or recovery time frame. Many names. And the recovery time frame, it means from the point of disruption till the critical systems are operational with current and accurate data. And it could be hours, days, weeks, or months even. But seldom, of course, then you're out of business, I think. And there are other parameters for estimation of the recovery time frame. It is the complexity of recovery. How difficult is it to recover? Also the impact on customers. Will the customers leave and go to another company looking for their products or whatever they are buying from you? And then the financial impacts, I already showed you a picture of that. And the impacts on operation. How long can you be without the system, without an application, or without the site, maybe? And do you have any recovery strategies in place already? That will for sure shorten the RTO. Do you have any workaround procedures that you can use? And the amount of backlog in case of an outage. And the backlog means that if you do the backup redundantly, then you have zero backlog. If you do the backlog once a week, then you, in worst case, you might have a backlog from a week behind. So you have to estimate the backlog and look into the backlog as well, the RTO. And then there is major points to consider when you are choosing the strategy. What critical business functions do you have to recover? What are the recovery requirements and the priorities? You can't, maybe you can't recover everything at the same time. You have to start with something and then take next system and next system. And also you try, of course, to minimize the losses. And then you have the RTO, time frame for the recovery. Service level desired within the RTO. To go from 0 to 100% is not realistic. So it's very often done stepwise. You see to what level you have to recover within hours and to what level you can recover within days, maybe. That depends on the company, of course. And also what kind of recovery resources you have in hand. And then you have to do the cost benefit of all the recovery solutions that you are recommending. And also the requirements of the recovery solutions. What do you need to do the recovery? And very often there are disaster recovery strategies. Many strategies are just taken up, some of them. And if you do everything redundant, then the recovery time is 0, or close to 0 anyway. But the investment is huge up front. And then you might do nothing. Most of the companies do nothing. And the recovery cost will be huge. And it will take long time to come back. Recovery strategies, there are many. No recovery, that is do nothing. And you have a very high risk appetite choosing this recovery strategy. You could do the manual procedures, can be chosen for certain type of application, formally done manually. For instance, service desk recording orders on paper until the order entry application is covered. That is one workaround. And hopefully there is somebody that knows how to do it. You could also choose to reduce service response, functions that can be dropped or transported to other locations, and done when it's feasible in time. You could also choose to withdraw a service, and maybe that is a service that is already at the end of the life cycle, and then you maybe choose to withdraw it. And something else that is often withdrawn is development work and test work. And then you can have staff working from home, and for that you have to be aware of that it could be used in a combination of other strategies to reduce alternate site requirements and to reduce to have to move people, the staff from one place to another. But you have to be very careful with functions you enable to work from home. There could be very many applications or data that you don't want to make official, confidential information. And then there is internal backup facilities. 1 and 9 goes into each other, investigate usage of other internal facilities. You might have, for instance, a test site that you can use in case of this disaster. And then the other hot site, it is a site fully equipped with the same data and the same systems and the same applications, and you test it very frequently, so you know that you can start it if something happens. In warm site, it means that it's partly prepared with equipment, but you need to take the data and other things, stuff with you when you go there. And the mobile site, that is mobile. It's more or less a container that you can use as a site, as a recovery for critical systems. You can equip the mobile site, the container with the systems and also the data and everything. You can do it more or less prepared for recovery. And cold side, it's like an empty shell. You have a site, but it's empty. Maybe the telecommunications, the electricity, everything else is there, but no computers, no data, no systems. And then you have reciprocal agreements with another company that is in the same area as you are, doing the same thing, and they are very much similar in size and in operations, and they have the same technology as you have, and they have enough capacity for you. So they need to have a spare capacity for you to be able to recover. But it is also the same for your site, because there are two paths they're sharing. It's difficult to use when you are doing exercises, and also it's not that the auditors and regulators are not that fan of this kind of agreements. And also there are some other things. Maybe you have confidential material that you don't want to show to another company. So it's not used that many times, I think. Maybe mother-daughter companies in the same firm could do it. And then if one side changes something, then the other side has to change. And you could also use third-party service vendor, and that is very common, I think, in IT business. And that you use a vendor that, and you have an agreement with a computer room, computers are installed there, everything is installed there. And you can go there whenever you want. So you kind of hire a hot site or a warm site from a vendor, you could say. And then the newest thing is use cloud computing somehow. And then the last one was investigating usage of internal facilities. Maybe you have a very big conference room that you can use, if not the whole building is the company. Okay, and then there is something that is very vital, and it's a vital records. At least you need to have an off-site storage, and you need to have a backup regime for the records. And also work in progress. For instance, if you are developing system applications and so on, what are you going to do with that? Maybe you have customers requiring you to do some development of systems, and you have an agreement with a customer, then you need to have a strategy how to handle that situation. And of course, whatever site you choose, you have to look into what are the threats, the access control, the facility security, dedicated areas, environmental control, the command centers, restricted facilities, and other things as well. We can go and look into those one by one very quickly. Threats. Could be natural or weather changes. Industrial or commercial hazards, if there are some industrial close to the site, for instance, petrol stations, that kind of things. Can you access the site? For instance, if there is a bridge and there is a major catastrophe, so the bridge is not okay, you can't drive across the bridge. That is just one example. You have to look into alternate routes. In that point, if you have shared premises, is it okay to share something with somebody? You have to look into the risks and threats for that. Public utilities. For example, if the power plants, undergrounds, railways, that kind of things, and also the cabling infrastructure, so that nobody is digging off the cable. And then, last but not least, mitigation of risks. Can you do it? Can it be done? Access, we are not going deeply into all of these, just some few points that I think is an access control means that you have selective restrictions of entry of users in and out of the area, of course. Not everyone can go in and out. Should just be maybe the management and the recovery teams, and also the security categories of personnel. Could be several categories of persons that can enter. All the area or some of the area that can enter the security zones, or maybe not. And if you look at the site facility security, the building, is it of wood or brick or what? What is the exterior and interior look? Is it safe? Can it be broken? What about the windows? Is it on the ground floor? Is it high up? And that kind. And what is the alarm system for the site, for the facility? Then you have the dedicated areas, like recovery room, of course, so you have the computers and everything, and then assembly areas for the teams. Maybe not everyone will work with the recovery at the same time. You need somewhere to assemble, come together. And then if you look at the environmental, it is very Important that the temperature is okay, that the ventilation is okay, that the humidity is okay, and also the vibration and noise. As you know, the computer rooms. They need a special temperature, the humidity, and the ventilation. And then there could be restricted facilities, and just some of the person can go into for designated purposes. And then you have the command center where the management can sit. Maybe they are not at site, they might be somewhere else. But anyway, if they are at site, they have to have a room that will be equipped with first telecommunications, of course, and computers, maybe, terminals, whatever. And as I said, telecommunication, if you look at the other things that matters, is telecommunication. And the external world. So it's very important that it functions. And also power supply. That is very essential, that they have UPSs or something else, backup for power. Fire protection, of course. The cabling, that the cabling is okay, that is protected from damage. That you have rest areas, because people need to rest. They are very exhausted. Maybe they are working several hours to get it up and running, so they need to rest somewhere. You need to have parking areas for staff, for maybe suppliers coming with equipment, whatever. And you need also medical care, food and drink. They need to eat, and you need also testing, some equipment to test, somewhere to test things. What you have to look into if what happens with if the equipment reaches the end of the life cycle. Vendors. You might have vendors with very critical special equipment or service that are very special and that you need to implement within a predefined time. So you need to have an SLA with those vendors to be sure that they will support you with the equipment or with the service that you need. Then you can use outsourcing. And that is a contractual agreement with a third party. You need to do the periodic review for the outsourcing company. You also need to do the security control and quality of the staff doing the work. If you compare, at the end of this analysis, you have to compare internal and external solutions. What are the advantages with the certain kind of solution? What are the disadvantages? What are the costs to start up, to maintain, and to execute the strategy? Are there any mitigation capabilities and control options that you can take into account? is this strategy, can it meet the defined recovery time frame and the backlog that you have? There are some special requirements for mobile sites. Transmission connection points at each site. You need to connect the mobile site. Possible parking places are at the IT center or close to the IT center. You need to have power supply, have generators or battery backup or whatever for power supply backup. You need to have declare on the offsite storage and suitable backup regime. And as I said before, you might not be able to recover from 0 to 100% within the RTO. Then you need to do a stepwise recovery. And this is actually from a customer as well. They didn't reach 100%, even if they did it with 4 different sites. And this is 32 hours, 44 hours, 50 hours, 62 hours. So they need to use a cold site at the end to reach 100% within some weeks. And then we did the mobile switches, of course. We did some activities here, just to see if you can reach 10% within 32 hours and 36% within 62 hours. And the site that we were recovering, it was very, very large. So that is how you can do. You can predict the time every task will take and see to what level you can reach with a site or the strategy that you suggest. And when you have done and the management has decided the strategy that they want to implement, you need to implement it, of course, and test it. And then comes the planning of everything, when to activate and when to deactivate the strategy. And the activation and deactivation is done by the crisis management. And everything is in the plans. The first one is the response plan. That is the first critical hours. You need a response plan. Somebody that responds to the disaster. And when you know the damage and when you know what you have to do, maybe the crisis management will activate the strategy, and then the staff will do the recovery according to the recovery plan. And then when the recovery is over, then the crisis management decides to deactivate the strategy and go back home. And restoration plan, that means that you are fully operational to 100%. But also there is something that is very important, and that is exercise and test. For the computers you can do a test. A test is either a success or a failure, but the exercise is always a success. That is the difference between exercise and test. And if you don't exercise your plan, you don't have any. So it's waste of time to do a plan if you don't exercise it. That I keep saying to my customers. And anyway, only 30% of the companies exercise their plans. And they should do it every 7th month. And 7th month because then you have you have summer, autumn, winter, spring. You can test it all the different, what do I say? Anyway, plan for the worst, exercise for the rest. If you plan that the worst thing can happen, if you don't exercise it, you don't have to plan. I hope you agree with me. In case of disaster, this is from the real world and from a part of the world where I did a plan for the customer that was struck by a disaster like that. That was not fun. Okay, thank you very much. Kim, are you there?
Thank you, Ms. Barbro. Thank you for this great presentation. We will take now, since we have a bit of time left, we will take some questions. Firstly, we had a question done from Manuel. He said, I have understood that ISO 27462 is officially withdrawn from the ISO organization, and which will be the substitution plan for it. So I responded to him by writing that it is officially withdrawn now, and the substitution is the new standard ISO 27031, which is focused more on the technology issues that disaster recovery vendor should be addressing. This standard is more of a high-level framework that describes the IT disaster recovery activities that should be included as part of an enterprise-level business continuity program. And to move forward with other questions, we had another question from one of the attendees, Kelvin. His question was directly to you, Ms. Barbro. What happens if the cost of the recovery solution is too high for the organization?
Well, that is a good question because it's always too high. But then the management has to decide if they can decrease the ambition to make it maybe 50% of recovery with some other cheaper strategy. Or if they want to have to recover as to the, well, it's up to the management to decide what they want to do. If they want to recover to 100% or to whatever level with a very expensive strategy, or do they want to do another kind of recovery with a cheaper strategy? Maybe not 100%, maybe 50% or something.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is, can we plan a recovery disaster strategies for the whole IT or only for critical business elements for the organization?
Well, you could do it for a whole IT, of course, but I suggest that you don't start with that. You do the critical elements first. And then if you have time to do, you do the rest after that. So start with the most critical elements and then do the rest after that. Because maybe the rest is not, I don't know if it's critical or not. If it's critical, then it's critical. Then you have to recover it. And also within the critical elements, you have to prioritize what element to start with. If you have, for instance, 10 elements that are the same criticality, maybe you say you start with the first one. You don't start all 10 at the same time, then it will be chaos. You will start with one and then next, you see. So you have to prioritize in between the critical elements as well. Yeah.
Thank you. The other question comes from Mr. Arthur. His question is, what are some of the best applications or templates to document and analyze risk probability?
What was the question?
What are some of the best applications or templates to document and analyze risk probability?
Risk probability. Well, I used Excel. That's Excel with private elements, you know.
And Excel templates, right?
Yeah. Do it as simple as possible.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Simple.
And the other question comes from Daniel. He is trying to, he says, please explain in more detail the difference between exercise and testing of disaster recovery program.
Exercise is exercising the teams in the work they are doing. That is exercise. The test is the application running or not? If it's running, the test is okay. If it's not running, it's a failure. But the exercise is never a failure because you exercise the people to do the work they do during the disaster. And if they are not 100% okay in every step they do, then they learn something. But if the application is up and running, it's okay, everything is okay. If it's not up and running, well, then it's not up and running. And you might not have learned anything, just that it was a failure. You see that? Is it okay? You see the difference between exercise and test?
Thank you. And another question related to this is, what is the best scenario to make exercises for testing our plans with less cost, so to be less costly?
You can do it scenario-based, of course. That is where you collect all the teams in a room and you tell them a scenario and they have to imagine the scenario and then you set up what they have to reach with the exercise. And if you get to the point, then the exercise is over. The scenario-based exercises are the least costly. The most costly is, of course, live testing. I've never been able to do that. No one wants to shut down the computers and see what happens. Huh?
Thank you. And the last question that we will take for today, because of the time limitations that we have, is what is the relation of disaster recovery and business continuity?
The relation is, of course, you can say that disaster recovery should be included in business continuity because IT systems are very vital for almost every company of today. So the disaster recovery is a technology, to have the technology up and running. Business continuity is to have the operations, that the company will survive whatever happens. The company as whole, not just the IT company. So that is the difference. So from my point of view, disaster recovery is a part of business continuity. And there is a mix of those, those today. Many people say that business continuity is for IT as well. Of course it is, but you have the disaster recovery for IT. And then you see that most of the recovery strategies are also business continuity, not specific for disaster recovery. And you can make them specific for disaster recovery and just think of technology recovery. You see what I mean?
Yes, thank you for this, Ms. Barbro, and thank you for thank you for the presentation and for the question and answer session and all your contribution. It is highly appreciated. I hope all the attendees enjoyed the webinar. And just to keep you informed, we have recorded this session and we will upload this in our YouTube channel, and we will upload the slides in our SlideShare account where you will be able to view them. So please subscribe in our YouTube and social media channels to stay up to date with the next webinars, since every Wednesday we will be organizing a webinar in the disaster recovery, security, and continuity topics. And if you want to get a more understanding and obtain more information on disaster recovery, PCB has its own official training course for Disaster Recovery Manager. It's a 3-day course for managers and all of those who want to become certified, which is available through our global network of partners worldwide. So check in our website to get more information about this. Thank you once again to all of you, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.